We're going to go up again. We're on our calendar section front. We want to do something. In this case, we want to make a new deadline. So as I mentioned, a deadline is a little bit like an event, and it's a little bit like a to-do item. So what I mean by that is it's something that's going to have a due date. It's also going to show up in one of the lists we'll look at shortly. So if I have a deadline, so if I know that my grant revisions are due on a certain date, I can put that in my calendar. I can give it a deadline type that I can build out. So I know that this is in fact critical. This is how we get paid. It's a critical deadline. And it's going to be due, let's say it's going to be due on Monday the 24th. I again have the option if I want to calculate that due date. For something like a deadline, I also have the option to put on a specific list date. So what this allows me to do is just tell the system when I want this to show up in my to-do list. So obviously this is coming up. I wanted my to-do list today so I can see it. But if I had a deadline or a task that was going to be due something like December, I may not want that to show up in my to-do list until, maybe November. And I can set that list date here for when that will show up. I have the option to mark this deadline as completed, yes or no. Obviously, if this is the first time I'm making it and I want this to be something I complete at a later date, I'm going to mark it as no. But you can also create tasks and deadlines and things that you can just keep track of having done by just selecting no, and then it won't show up in any default lists, only showing incomplete deadlines. So the same way that we saw with an event, I can add some notes to this calendar event. I can choose recipients to email that note to, and then I can mark it private or public the same way I could with an event. I also, again, if there's anyone else that should be associated with this task, so if I know that, demo admin is going to help me with my revisions, and I want demo admin to be aware that this task is something we need to do, I can tag that person here. Again, I can filter on office or program. I can also send a reminder if I want, the same way that I could with an event. And if I hit continue, I should be able to see here that my grant revisions are due, and that is a deadline that's going to show up on my calendar list. Again, I can hover, get some more information about that deadline, and it's going to show up right here in my calendar.